Two men journey to the bars and restaurants of Scandinavia to find amazing beers, always with the same question.
Hey, what's on tap?
It's time to find out.
All right, here we are at What's on Tap podcast with Martin joining us once again.
Again, yes.
And just talking about his mom being my stand.
That's offensive in so many ways.
It is.
I was just about to say something really nice because I'm re-invited.
So correct.
Because I'm re-invited for like the 100th time.
I know.
It feels
you are like quickly becoming the new co-host of the show.
You are, both the show and you, Stefan, you are the habit that I just can't quit.
I know. I have that effect on people.
Yeah.
But you were kind enough to bring over 2 beers from De Moersleutel, which is a Dutch brewery.
Indeed.
And they are beer engineers.
It says so on the label.
It does. Because De Moersleutel means...
We looked it up just before we clicked record, and it actually means like the monkey wrench or the wrench.
The wrench,
because
right.
moor is nut and sleutel is key.
So it's a nut key.
Nut key.
Also sounds like something completely different.
It does.
That's for the What's on Tap podcast After Dark episode that's coming later for pay-per-view only.
Selected audiences.
Yes.
So the beers I brought are 2 beers from the same series. They're the double roast. They're both called the double roast. So the first one is with Lintong coffee from Sumatra.
Yep.
And the second one is
Sidamo from Ethiopia.
Yeah.
All right, and these are brewed in connection with Brandmeesters, which is a premium roaster of coffee. Come in at 10% ABV, and these are both batch number 104. I don't know if that makes a difference, but now you know.
We can assume that now we know, and knowing is half the battle.
Thank you.
G.I. Joe.
All right.
But we can probably assume with the same batch number that it's the same base beer that's then been aged in different coffees.
Correct.
Based on our knowledge of what other brewers do.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nope, not at all. All right, so the first one we're going to try is the Sidamo.
Sure.
All right, are you ready?
Pretty sure I have the correct glass. They look absolutely identical, which is to be expected.
Right, I'm going to do a quick smell test because...
They do smell differently.
Yeah, they do smell differently. All right, that's definitely the Sidamo.
Nice.
Okay. Yes.
Cheers.
Right. Cheers. That is smooth. That is roasty and smooth and creamy. These aren't lactose, are they?
Are you lactose intolerant?
Hops, yeast, and coffee. No, but they're just so sweet on the tongue.
Yeah. You would expect them to be contain lactose.
No, there's absolutely no lactose in this, but these are really sweet.
So apparently I bought them from a German reseller. I hadn't imagined, but the extra label says Bier, Zutaten, Wasser, Gerstenmalz, Hopfen, Hefe und Kaffee.
Yeah, or you can just look at the label and it's all in English and it says water, malted barley, hops, yeast, and coffee.
But German ingredient lists will be more accurate, I feel like.
Well, they're virtually the same. I don't see a difference. There's an additional ingredient other than it says hops.
You're missing the joke. I think you're missing the joke.
Completely.
They're very thorough.
The Germans?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
No, I got that joke, but I'm just saying in this particular case there was no difference.
Yeah.
They did invent the word Farfignugan. So
yeah, exactly.
They are experts in their craft.
I participated in a beer quiz where one of the questions was which country, we had like 5 countries, had the harshest laws against drunk driving. Germany, England, the Czech Republic, or Denmark. And I did not know the answer. I obviously guessed Germany because they are
I would have guessed
strict.
Denmark.
That they are strict?
Yeah.
They were equally strict as Great Britain and Germany because the Czech Republic has a 0.0 tolerance for drunk driving.
That is hardcore. That is basically means that if you took cough syrup you were screwed.
You will register.
Yeah.
Any kind of chocolate praline.
Mouthwash. I mean, that's
sure.
gonna register.
There's a reason we have 0.2, and it's to eliminate all of this, all of this bullshit. So that was the knowledge of the day.
If you were to drink vanilla extract, you're registering for sure.
Probably.
No, you will, because it's mostly alcohol. There was a news article the other day I read where a woman in Florida got arrested for drunk driving because she had been just drinking bottles of vanilla extract.
Wow.
It's like 12% alcohol by volume. That's extremely high ABV.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is the limit in the States? Okay.
0.8.
That's
0.08? 0. I don't remember.
We have 0.2.
Yeah, so it's 0.8.
That's quite a lot.
Yeah. So you can have
1 or 2 beers.
You can have 1.5 drinks per hour.
Yeah.
So if you pace yourself to 1 drink per hour, you're pretty set.
So that was a side note. I actually like this beer.
It is really good. This Sidamo, it says it is Ethiopian, washed at an altitude of... Jesus, what does it say?
1,400 meters?
Sure. 1408, I think.
Yeah. 1,408 meters, I think. Yeah.
I don't know what the altitude has to do with anything and how that affects the coffee, but I'm sure there's something.
So the other one that we haven't tried yet, it says
just wait.
Wait.
We'll get there.
But altitude, when it comes to food, to me, it's such a hipster. It's a new thing.
No. I mean, there is a difference in altitude in the way that it affects your palate and your taste buds and your taste sensitivity. But I don't know how it affects
that altitude.
Right. If you are in that altitude, right. I don't know how it would affect the processing of food when you get it down to sea level.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know that there's a huge difference how it affects flavors
of plants and coffee beans and whatever.
Exactly.
I love the TV series Chef's Table.
Yeah.
And in one of them, they interview, I think he's Peruvian or Argentinian or some kind of South American country, where every meal on his menu just states the altitude. It doesn't really say what's in the meal. It's like, this is the 300 meter. And then you need to ask, this is because we went to this place in the Andes where the mountain slopes are just right for this kind of thing.
So maybe it could denote some sort of microclimates that are available to the coffee and the way it's processed. But then that's a level of granularity that I just don't think the average consumer would completely understand. I think it's the average coffee drinker wouldn't completely understand. And I consider myself a bit of a coffee nerd. I really, really love coffee and really understand the different flavors and the different parts of the world and what you're going to get from that. But I don't know how the altitude would affect the processing of that.
No.
Plant. It could be that at 1,600 meters or 1,408 meters, in the growth process of the coffee bean itself, it's going to generate these kind of flavors and esters and whatever else available to it.
But if any brewers are listening, don't take this criticism as a
it's not criticism, it's more commentary.
Yeah. Don't stop putting this kind of stuff on the label, because we live for this stuff.
Yeah.
We want more details on the label. We want the name of the guy who
I have a
ground the
feeling
malts.
that this is much more into the way the coffee was produced, as opposed to anything has to do with the actual beer processing itself.
But they're paying homage to the coffee because they're collaborating with the Brandmeesters coffee collective thingy. That's good. Whenever you do collaboration with any other company, it doesn't have to be another brewer. It can be a coffee collective. It can be we got these hops from some crazy guy who grows hops in a shed. I mean, when you do something like that, you need to pay homage to their craft. And here, it feels very focused on the coffee and not on the beer.
Yeah. Actually, I kind of want to jump into the smell of these two because they're actually wildly different. You would think that just having different coffee styles would not make a difference, but you get, like, off of the Sidamo, it's a much roastier, kind of creamy nose to it, whereas the Lintong is a much boozier nose.
I would say sweeter, more vanilla and sweetness.
You think so?
Maybe boozier, maybe.
I think the 10% ABV comes through a little stronger on the Lintong than on the Sidamo.
Should we taste it?
Yeah, I mean we can. The Lintong doesn't smell as coffee roasty.
Agreed.
As the Sidamo, which is quite interesting. All right, well, cheers, man.
Cheers. It tastes different as well. That's nice. Whenever you do a series of beers, I don't know if there are more coffee variants than these two because I only got these two. Mm-hmm. But whenever you do a series, you need to make damn sure that they differ from each other.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just wasting everyone's time, I feel like.
I agree. And what's perplexing about this is that this is the first time I've had two variants side by side, and I really can't say I like one better than the other.
You mean they're good in different ways?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're both equally good. And while the Lintong isn't nearly as coffee forward as the Sidamo, it's still got this light roastiness. I think it's a little more playful. I think where the Sidamo is definitely coffee forward, this is a little more, less the porter essence come through.
Yes.
I think the roasted malts are a little more dominant here, and the coffee complements the roasting of the malts. Whereas with the Sidamo, I think the coffee dominates the roasted malts. So I feel like you get a better example of the base beer with the Lintong over the Sidamo.
I agree because I actually know that I'm really bad at blind tastings. Mm-hmm. But if I were to get the Sidamo, is that Ethiopian? Yeah.
Yeah.
The Ethiopian coffee beer in a blind tasting, I think I would say, this has to have coffee in it.
Yeah.
Because there's a strong coffee component.
Extremely coffee component, yeah.
But if I were to give in the Sumatra.
Yeah, the Lintong Sumatra.
Yeah. In blind tasting, I don't think I would say coffee. I would say, and this is a good imperial port.
You wouldn't say it's a good imperial port. You would say this is
a good beer.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's very roasted malt.
Yes.
Malt roasted beer. I mean, just overall, and I would not guess coffee based.
It's important also that they're the same batch because of aging. Because coffee is a flavor that typically disappears quite quickly. Like in a year, a coffee beer will have changed character completely. Yeah,
and I will say you're right. This one is a little bit sweeter. I think the Lintong is a bit sweeter than the Sidamo, and that could just be that the base elements are coming through a little bit better.
Yeah. So now that I think about it, and I look at the label which says double roast, it's very possible that there are only two variants.
Oh yeah, that does make sense. In the double roast part, they made a double roast of this.
We just assume that any brewer, any niche brewer who makes these kind of beers will make a series of like 8 to 10 different variants. That's just what I assume, because that's what usually happens.
This is a shelf life of 823. I feel like that is way beyond the capacity of this beer to store.
To August?
823, August of 2023.
I mean, it'll still be completely drinkable, but a lot of the coffee flavor will have subsided.
Yeah. I think that's way past the.
But a lot of
Best Buy.
A lot of the malty flavors of the Imperial Porter will still be there in 4 years, for sure. You don't think so?
No, I completely agree. But I just think that this is a beer that should be drunk fresh. You don't want to store this beer. You don't want to sit on this one. Because I think you're missing out. The whole point of this beer is the coffee roastiness. And if you're going to store this, you're missing out on the whole point of the beer itself, which is the coffee essence.
You're right, but is a best before buy date, is that a date where the intended essence of the beer is lost, or is it when the beer stops being good?
I think it's denoted shelf life of the beer itself.
But that's when the beer stops being good.
Right.
So that has nothing to do with the coffee aspect. It has to do with the
everything to do with the
inherent
coffee.
imperial porter essence.
Right. It's the inherent imperial port essence. But as you disclaimed earlier, the coffee essence dissipates really quickly.
Yes.
So to get the maximum flavor and appreciation of this beer, it should be drunk fresh and not stored for 3 or 4 years.
So what you're saying is that all beers should have 2 dates.
No,
a date where the essence of the beer will be lost, and
a
a date where it will stop being good.
I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that if you understand cellaring and how that affects a beer, and you understand that while this beer will still be drinkable in 3 to 5 years, or even longer than that, provided that it's stored in the right conditions, you're going to lose what this beer is about, which is the essence of the coffee roasting that's added to this beer, which is the whole point of this series to begin with. And if coffee degrades in the can over time, then the longer you store the beer, the more you're missing out on the quality of the beer and how good it'll be in 3 to 4 years. So this isn't a beer, I would say, that needs to be stored for a long period of time. I would say you should drink it fresh rather than store it.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
It sounds like you are.
I'm trying to poke a hole in your argument regarding best before dates.
No, well, that's just stupid because I don't.
Because best before dates are always a recommendation. Anyone who knows how to cellar beers will also understand where that recommendation comes from. So any imperial stout where the best before date is set 1 year in advance, you're kind of expected to assume that that's based on some kind of consumer law?
Well, no. I mean, so take IPAs, for instance. IPAs usually have a 6-month best buy date.
Yeah.
So does that mean that after 6 months, the beer is no longer drinkable? Or
No.
does that mean that at that point, you're going to no longer be able to get that quality that you're expecting? Because there's even some beers that have a 3-month shelf life based on the best buy date. So
yeah, so those.
What I'm not saying is that this beer, at the end of 2023, completely falls apart. I'm just saying that the brewery is saying that you should drink this before that date, because quite honestly, most of these best by dates are completely arbitrary to begin with.
Agreed.
There's really no rhyme or reason to them to quite often, other than, all right, so we give porters a 4-year shelf life, we give IPAs a 3 to 6 month shelf life, blah 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 blah, based on the qualities of that style that people are trying to adhere to. So you can take a triple IPA and shelve it for 2 or 3 years, and at that point it basically becomes a barley wine. It becomes something slightly more than it started out being. But with IPAs, the longer you hold on to them, the more the hop oils break down, because they essentially start breaking down from the moment that they go into the can, or to the bottle, and then they just continue to break down from that point. And so finding that zone where you're getting the best of the hop essence before it just completely falls apart and becomes kind of lackluster and boring is extremely important.
It is important. My own personal rule of thumb is that if the beer has a low, like a short best before date, that one's set by the brewer to ensure best quality. If it has a long best before date, that's set by some kind of rule or law based on consumer products, whatever.
Okay.
So there are beers in Denmark, like imperial stouts in Denmark. Most of them have a 10-year best before date. 10 years. That's so arbitrary. It comes from a consumer.
Gueuze and lambics that have like a 20-year best by date?
Yeah. I assume that they're based on Belgian and Dutch consumer laws,
All right.
where you're not allowed to put best before, hey, whenever the fuck you want. You're not allowed to write that.
All right.
Do you honestly think that a master blender of a Goes brewery thinks that, okay, this particular one will work for 20 years? Not 21, not 19, 20.
No, but I think that based on the style and the qualities of the beer, you know, like the potential shelf life of something before it starts to turn into, I don't know, something else.
A vinegar or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I think these beers will be just fine in 2023. But they will have lost a lot of the coffee character.
Right.
But they'll still be good imperial porters because...
But that's my whole point, is that, sure, they'll be fine, but if you're not... You're drinking these beers to take advantage of the coffee essence and the coffee qualities of them. And if you're not taking advantage of them fresh, then why age them? You're not getting anything more out of that. Like, there's some beers that do progress with age and give you more and evolve and change over time. These beers will not do that. You're going to lose quality over time.
Are you sure? Because I feel like the base imperial porter flavor in these ones is quite potent. If that comes out more...
Again, you're missing the point of the coffee. These are double roasts based on coffee styles.
Yes.
And they're very specific to that. And if you're going to lose that in 6 months, then you've lost the essence of that beer. So if you were to drink this in 6 months, sure, the porter quality might be perfectly fine, but I'm not going to get the roastiness, the coffee essence that I'm looking for from that beer, and therefore it completely misses the point of the beer itself.
Okay, I do agree with you, and you are a very clever man. This is not a but. What you're talking about is information for the extremely savvy consumer, and that's when the brew date comes into play. The brew date is the most important thing for a consumer like yourself, who looks at this and says, this is a coffee beer where coffee is the primal ingredient. The brew date is what I need to abide by. It actually doesn't say brew date, which just makes me sad because my argument is lost. A best before is for a less knowledgeable consumer who in 2 years finds this on a shelf, in a storage, at a friend's, whatever, who finds this in 2 years and thinks, is this going to be good? And it's going to be good. It's not going to be completely true to the original flavor, but it's going to be good.
All right, so let's rate these.
We haven't rated any of them.
No.
Wow.
So what do you want to rate them individually, or do you want to rate them?
Of course I want to rate them individually.
So what do you give the double roast Sidamo?
4.25.
And what do you give the Lintong?
4.
All right.
I think that the coffee aspect of the Sidamo is amazing. It's good. Mm-hmm. It's better. It's supposed to be coffee flavored because yes, they're coffee flavored beers. I haven't been disagreeing with you. Mm-hmm. It's just the best before date. What do you think?
I'm going to give them the exact same rating. I think they're both 4.25. I think these are outstanding. They both have this lightness to them. I mean, at 10% ABV, these could have been just huge alcohol bombs.
Yes.
Very, very easily. But they're just so light, so drinkable, so just pleasant and enjoyable on every level. I think it's splitting hairs. I think they're equally good. And I like them both for different reasons, even though there is a clear distinction between the two beers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I give them both 4.25.
And maybe if I had a Lintong just by itself with no other beers involved, it might have gotten a 4.25. But my brain works this way. When I present it with two very similar things, mm-hmm. I immediately compare them to each other.
Well, that's because of human nature. You automatically want to rank one better. There has to be a winner and has to be a loser. Yeah. You can't have two things that are at the same level. But I think these both present something different and something interesting that make them both equally enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yep.
But and when we're grading on a 0.25 like step basis, of course one of them could be a 4.2 and one could be a 4.3.
Mm-hmm.
They'll still get the same rating.
Yeah.
But that's just the way it is.
All right. So you can find us online at what'sontappodcast.com. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.
And
those are the main things.
Also a new
iTunes.
website I registered, the Moersleutel Beer Raters on podcast.com.
Right. That's not a real thing. So find us online. I hope you enjoyed this. Until next time.
Drink up, you dum-dums.
You're still getting it wrong.
Keep drinking?
Yes.